Let's unpack some high school trauma using shadow work and some neurodiverse accommodations to make it happen. Story time. We're going to go all the way back to when I was in the 11th grade, and years ago. And I was waiting for an essay to get graded back that I think I did pretty well on in my 11th grade English class. The teacher, right before the bell rang, started to hand out all the papers, and everybody got theirs, looking at their grades and notes. But I was the only person in class who didn't receive their paper, which made me a little anxious, if you know me. So, the teacher stood in front of class and said, "There is one paper out of all of them that stood out, and not in a good way." I just sank down in my desk. I didn't want to hear what was about to be said. She then went on a 5-minute tirade about how anyone who uses humorous titles in academic papers will be laughed out of college, that no college professor will ever pass or even think it's respectful if a student uses humor in the title of their essay. To say the least, I was devastated. You see, humor is a big part of my life. I try to incorporate it almost everywhere I go. I was embarrassed. I felt great shame, because I enjoy writing. I enjoy it so much. So the teacher goes to her desk and then picks up a single essay and then saunters over to my desk and lays it gingerly down in front of me with a little and then the bell rings. I was devastated. I was so embarrassed. After she sauntered to my desk, I just sort of sat there, sunk down, and walked out of school with a lot of shame. It wasn't until I was able to do shadow work that I was able to understand the emotions, the memories, and the effect that it had on me. You're just trying to uncover the shadows that are blocking you from the success that you desire. Stick around. I've got some great neurodiverse accommodations you can take with shadow work that makes the process a lot easier and a lot faster too. I'm Aaron M. Clay, a little slice of extraordinary, and your neighborhood light warrior, shining light on the spiritual journey, tailored for the minds that wander among the stars. This means my neurodivergent folks. This is for you. So I really quickly wanted to come on here and share with you some of the steps and best practices that I've learned trying to do shadow work on my spiritual journey. And I had to take a bunch of ADHD accommodations to make this happen. So excited to share with you some of my best practices and the best accommodations I've found that you can make for your shadow work that are perfect for neurodivergent folks. Now, if you are neurodiverse, this is your video reminder to turn on accommodations so you can get the most out of this video. Those accommodations are, so you can turn on captions to make sure you can read and listen at the same time for better retention. I also suggest augmenting the playback speed to go faster, as fast as you can go. I prefer 2 times the speed, but you can go whatever speed you'd like. And finally, comment down below one thing you learned and one thing you're going to do differently as a result of the information in this video. And by doing that, you're externalizing your goals and then making them available for more people to hold you accountable. All right, let's dive in. First, we need to understand what shadow work is. And it's basically an idea that Carl Jung, who studied under Freud, came up with. We have the mind, the body, and the soul, all of which cast shadows that we carry around not thinking about it. The best way to think about this is to use the metaphor of an actual shadow. When the sun hits you in the afternoon and your shadow of your body is elongated onto the ground, there's exploration to be done there. There are things in your shadow, both good and bad, and truths and strengths that you can unlock in your shadow. And the idea is to shed fears and to shed the ego that doesn't serve us so that we can progress on our spiritual journey at our own pace and feel really good about it. The idea is that we want to integrate all the parts of our shadow, the things that we hide or that are subconsciously going on that we may not be consciously aware of. And so once we uncover what these shadows are, the next part of it is about integrating them and letting that energy go. Everything that I've talked about today and will talk about today is from my own personal lived experience doing shadow work. And the first thing I want to say right off the bat to everyone is that this is hard. When you get to do it, it's not going to be easy because most of the emotions in your shadow are so hard to deal with that you've got layers and layers and layers of crud building up that you've got to melt away. And it doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes a lot of your intention and energy and sitting with those really difficult emotions. And so I hope some of the tips I have will help with that process. So the first thing we're going to do in shadow work is bring awareness to our shadows. And you're like, well, how the hell am I going to do that? And listen, honey, they don't tell you on the neurotypical YouTube how to do it, but I think I figured out a way to make it work. So you want to bring your awareness to things that are negative in your body. Those would be physical sensations that don't feel good in your body or that you don't know why they're there. Going back to past memories that caused you grief is another great place to bring your awareness in the shadow. Basically, what you're trying to find is actions, behaviors, thoughts, beliefs on the surface that you're like, I don't want to be this person, or I'm not really in tune with this energy, or why did I yell at that guy? I don't even care about that issue. So you're going to bring awareness to the body, to the mind, to the soul, to all the discomforts, no matter how small they are. And you want to externalize them and write them down onto a list that you will review regularly during your shadow work. Doesn't mean you need to review it all the time, just regularly. So now we need to express this unmet need, this emotion, this memory, this energy, this body sensation. We want to creatively express that in a way that's beneficial to us. So how do you do that? Now, I personally write just a journal entry about what I'm feeling, why I think I feel this way. But the idea is you can draw, you can write, you can talk, any way for you to actively process these emotions. Now, I want you to absolutely feel them. Like when you have crappy emotions, that means sitting there, feeling that emotion. As you do your creative expression exploring this shadow, you're going to realize there are certain limiting beliefs and fears that may be attached to it. And that's why it lives in your shadow, because that's the only place it can live. And so what I want you to do is think about, how can I acknowledge these truths and accept them as true? And also forgive myself for anything that I might have done in the past when I was less aware. I think those two things are really important. Accepting the truth of and the facts of the matter, and then taking time to be compassionate to ourselves and forgive ourselves for any past transgressions or actions that we wouldn't want to carry forward into the new way of being. Then I will meditate on those shadows. And usually I do just one shadow at a time. And when I meditate on that shadow, first thing I do is I come to center, I ground my body, I make sure that I'm connected and protected. And then I visualize those negative emotions, those limiting beliefs, those fears, those memories, those body sensations, wherever they are in the body. I imagine them as dark clouds. And then through my meditation, I imagine those dark clouds lifting through my body, becoming whiter, lighter, and then finally leaving. And as I release all of those emotions, all of that energy, all of those limiting beliefs up to source, or in this case, it could be God, it could be spirit, the universe, whatever feels greater than yourself that can just take that energy from you, transmute it for the greater good. All you have to worry about is bringing awareness, expressing that shadow, acknowledging the truths and forgiveness, meditating, letting that energy go, and then once it's gone, it's none of your business. And then there's the healing post work, and that's where you allow time, and it could take minutes, it could take days, it could take weeks for you to integrate that shadow. And to be clear, integration means that you go out into the world, you live your life, and then the universe gives you an opportunity to test that shadow. Do you really have control over it, or do you not? Or, and I hope you notice this, maybe it doesn't have such a control over you. Maybe you're not angry as long. Maybe you're not depressed and sad as long. Maybe it is slowly softening. And if it is still slowly softening over time, you should meditate every single day. 5 minutes to ground yourself, connect and protect, and then 5 minutes to visualize that energy as dark clouds evaporating into light clouds, and then eventually evaporating out of your body. The visualization is a really important part of letting go that I fought for a long time, because how is a visualization going to help? but everything is energy. And essentially, when I make that visualization of a cloud, it's just energy, and it's energy leaving my body. And I don't need to keep it anymore because I'm aware of my shadow. I'm aware of these things. And when they start to creep up again, I go, I'm bringing the light. I love it. And as a very young person, I appreciate my whole life that I will be able to do this process. So let's talk about these neurodiverse accommodations for shadow work. The first one is start small and simple. That means as you find a body sensation you don't like, or a limiting belief, or maybe some actions you took that you'd like, I don't know why I'm being so this way. What I want you to do is try to tackle the stuff that's easy for you to do. For example, I have some other teacher traumas from when I grew up in a small town outside of nowhere. As hard as those were, they were easier than some of the deeper shadows I've had to work in. So my first accommodation is get the dopamine from getting the easy ones done first. So that could be something that happened just a few weeks ago or a few months ago that you want to do a shadow work on. First, you got to bring your awareness to it. Then you got to creatively express it in writing, drawing, talking, meditating. Then you want to acknowledge the truths of the situation, and you want to forgive yourself, give yourself lots of compassion and love. Then you want to meditate and then visualize that energy leaving your body so that you can not be encumbered by that energy that's been stuck in your body for so long. So you want to tackle low risk shadows first. My next accommodation is emotional regulation. Alrighty, so once you have tackled your low risk shadows first, you might find that there's more complex shadows and emotions and memories that you might need help processing. The reason you'll need help is because we have an issue with emotional dysregulation, and so doing this process could be emotionally dysregulating. So my second accommodation is to break complex memories, limiting beliefs, fears, actions, anything in your shadow, any complex shadow down into manageable parts. So this might mean breaking an event down minute by minute instead of trying to go through the whole thing, or breaking down a long-term issue. Instead of trying to focus on a 12-year relationship, you could say, let's focus on just year one and break those shadows down first. Or let's break down the last year of our relationship because maybe those are the most harmful shadows. So let me give you an example of emotionally regulating this process by breaking down these pieces into manageable chunks. So for example, I'm currently still working on lack of trust. It is so big and immense, or at least it feels that way to me right now. But what I've done is I've gone through and I've brought awareness throughout my days to understand shadows that I can work on that are smaller, manageable, little chunks. So let's take lack of trust, and we'll go with body sensation first. I might notice that my heart is heavy, or that it's hard to breathe and feel joy at the same time because it feels like I'm being compressed. I have a memory of my high school algebra teacher or geometry teacher and my mom on a school function both agreeing I have great potential, I'm just lazy. A limiting belief that came out of my exploration of lack of trust was my symptoms keep me from listening to my intuition. And I mean my ADHD symptoms, my neurodiverse symptoms, keep me from listening to my intuition. Therefore, I will never be able to grab an opportunity on site. An emotion that I'm dealing with as well is shame. So what I can then do is break down just the body sensation. Why does it, when did the heavy heart start happening? What was I thinking before that? What was I thinking after that? Was there any trigger? Things like that. I can then creatively express that as a journal entry where I can write it. I can call up a friend and say, oh my God, I just remember this memory from high school and when my geometry teacher was telling my mom that I was lazy, when it was really ADHD and nobody knew. Or I could look at shame and look at the emotion of shame in my lack of trust and see where shame is playing a part in that. Again, creatively express that. And then once I've done that part, I'll go and I will meditate, release that energy, and then I will spend the next few days, weeks, playing the games with the universe as they send me more and more lessons to test. Am I really putting these shadows to bed or not? Sometimes they are big tests, and sometimes they're very subtle. But the point is the lessons keep on coming because these shadows really do hold you back if you don't integrate them. And so I don't want to be held back. My teachers, angels, guides, my higher self all agree, full steam ahead. It's gonna suck, but it's gonna be worth it. Let's actually go over my third thing for emotional dysregulation. I said earlier that I want you to creatively express this shadow, and I will ask myself why 5 times in this process once I have a limiting belief, a fear. You can change up that why in many, many ways, but I wanted to give you a little example. So we'll go with my limiting belief that my ADHD and autism symptoms keep me from listening to my intuition more consistently, and therefore I will never be able to grab opportunities as they come because I won't realize they're for me. So the first thing I do is, like, I've written that belief down. So in my journal, I will continue writing. The first question is, why do I believe this? And for me, it's because I've missed so many opportunities for growth that have been handed to me from source for a variety of reasons. But as I've gotten rid of those shadows, all that's left is lack of trust. Trust in myself, trust in my community, trust in my environment, trust in my angels and guides and mentors and teachers and loved ones. So then I go deeper. Second why. Why do I believe that? Because my mentors, my loved ones have all pointed out opportunities that were laid at my feet, but I was too distracted or lazy or too aloof to even notice them. And why do I believe that? Because I have internalized years of messages that I was lazy, and nobody once took me to get tested for ADHD or for autism until I was very much an adult. No one has told me differently. So I have no data to say that I can listen to my intuition yet. Why do I believe that? It's another great why. Part of the problem is my working and verbal working memory. And then I ask another why, the fourth why. Due to limitations in my working memory, I am unable to remind myself that I am protected and that opportunities are being laid at my feet. Because when they do, I think they're for someone else. And so then I ask a fifth why. But in this why, I've decided to rewrite the script. Usually when that happens, I have journaled my heart out. There's nothing left to say except to integrate that shadow with a new empowering belief. And so I answered. It doesn't matter what people have said I could or could not do. Source has remained stable, providing lessons and opportunities for my growth, and has been consistent the entire time. And Source reminds me, I have so much love to give. I have so much light to give, and I have so much joy to bring that those other thoughts simply cannot be true about myself. So that's how I go pretty deeply during that creative expression section, asking myself 5 whys. Shorter memories, limiting beliefs, smaller limiting beliefs may take less time. They may take more time. I don't know what it'll be for you, but I know you'll do it correctly. Now, I do want to put a little thing in here as well that's not a part of my official workflow on shadow work, and that is post-processing. So after the creative expression, before the meditation, I've also started doing either a short walk to integrate it, meaning I think about it. In my walk, I'm able to literally use it then. I will totally use it. So if I run into a neighbor or run into a situation, maybe I'll be able to integrate and play with my shadow immediately. And if I don't feel like walking, then dancing is another fun thing that I can do just to loosen the energy in my body and just to allow myself to really feel the movement of love after I've let go of that shadow. Now, the last thing I'll say about emotional dysregulation is that you want to give yourself lots of compassion and you want to soothe yourself throughout this entire process, So that physically means, because we have a reduced working memory, you need to write on a Post-it note, I can get through this. These things are not hard. I am up for this challenge. Whatever is going to inspire you that you can see while you're doing your shadow work, you'll have that Post-it note. So as your eyes naturally start to roam around the room, you can always remember, I don't have to quit. I can keep working on. I love putting Post-it motivation all around my working area because I need that motivation often. Now what I'd like to do is talk about that last why that I talked about, the new empowering belief. There is something very invigorating about detailing out your shadows and then writing new empowering beliefs about who you are and who you want to be. Through your exploration of your individual shadows, you should be able to challenge all the assumptions that you have in your life and turn them into intentions. You do that by writing new empowering beliefs to replace the memories, the traumas, the limiting beliefs, the fears. Those are out. Your new empowering belief is in. But it's not enough just to write it down in a journal. You need to see these new empowering beliefs every single day. So once you've gotten your new empowering belief, I want you to write it in the reminders app on your iPhone and then set a reoccurring reminder to go off every morning and every evening before you normally go to bed with that new empowering belief. But Aaron, if I do shadow work, I'll have hundreds of new empowering beliefs. Exactly. You can also externalize your new empowering beliefs by putting them on Post-it notes and putting them around where you get ready in the morning, at your desk, on your front door before you leave, on your refrigerator, shower door, your bathroom door. Put them on all of those places, not one, but all of them, to constantly remind you of your new belief. Eventually, you are going to come numb to those Post-it notes. It happens every single time. But for those 1 to 2 to 3 days, or in your case, hours, I've heard, attention span, hello, you can absorb that new empowering belief. And once the Post-it note has no more effect on you, you practically don't see it anymore, wad it up, throw it away, and replace it with a new empowering belief. And let me give you this little pro tip. Shadow work is a drudge, but you can make it fun by taking your new empowering belief, writing it however you'd like, and then also creating a graphic on Canva that represents that new empowering belief. Or you can create a haiku, or you could just tell your friends about it or a loved one about it. Each of those ways will make shadow work a little bit more fun, even though the sitting with the emotions is really the hardest part. All right, those are just a few of my accommodations for shadow work. If you would like a full-on breakdown of how to actually do shadow work, where I show you minute by minute, let me know in the comments. And if you're neurodiverse and you came here to learn, if you want to solidify what you learned today, write down one thing that you learned and then one thing you're going to do differently as a result of that learning. Put it in the comments below. I will be featuring some comments in the future. And if you would like more content targeted to neurodiverse individuals on a spiritual journey, like and subscribe so that you can be a part of the channel, because that's a lot of what we'll be talking about here. I'm really appreciative that you guys made it all the way through. I have included some creators on YouTube who've done some great work on shadow work and explaining it. As you can see from the list right over here, or here, or here, or here, here's a list of creators who've created content on shadow work. And you can check their stuff out if you want more information on shadow work. Otherwise, stick around. I'll be back soon with a new video helping your spiritual ascension journey. And some parting words of advice. When it's time for you to really release the things that are holding you back, don't forget to listen to your mentors, teachers, loved ones, and guides. You have spiritual help all the way through. I gotta say, I am incredibly proud of you for undertaking this work. This is hard, but you are going to turn into the most magnificent human. Oh, I can't wait to see it. Good luck. You're doing great. Keep up the good work. I'm so incredibly proud of you. You make me so happy to be here. I'll see you next week.